Hey everybody, I hope everybody's doing well. I'm back again. This is Ron, and it's good to be back. We're going to start our video process again, working on an Arvin 1946 model 444A. This was a miniature radio in a metal case. Lots and lots of people have worked on these. I know Dawn at Restore Old Radios did one a while back. I think it was a different model, but very similar. These radios are somewhat cool because they're really, really small. When they were new, they sold for $10, and to work on these things at that time, you really didn't want to put a lot of money into them. But anyway, it's a nice piece of history. Here's the case, and you'll see it definitely needs some work. It's got some rust. It's got some missing paint. So we're definitely gonna work on that, and we're gonna get that restored. But in this video, you're going to see we take the radio, we check it, we do the necessary replacements to at least do an initial fire up, and we'll get it working. In episode 2, we're going to focus on the testing of the tubes and replacement of resistors and other things like that, and we'll talk about the cabinet as well. But anyway, it's good to be back. I noticed that we've passed 2,000 subscribers as well, so thank you so much. And I think we need to do a giveaway, so we're going to do that. And then our next project that's coming up is going to be a Zenith 12H689, which is a really unique shutter dial radio. And that's going to be our next project coming up. But for now, let's focus on this Arvin 444A. So dive in and enjoy. Happy New Year, everybody. Take care. Remember me? Anyway, I'm back. Happy New Year, everybody. Hope everybody had a great holiday. I've been real busy, as you know, the last couple of months, but we're going to start getting back into some videos. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at a Arvin model 444A. It was made in 1946. It's an entirely metal case. These are pretty common, actually. It was made by the, let's say, the Noblet Sparks industry. Here's the schematic. It was made in Columbus, Ohio. And there's a big history about this company, which I'll cover later. But it's a real simple radio. It's a 4-tube. So you've got a 12SA7, a 12SQ7, a 50L6 GT, and a 35Z5 GT. Just got it on eBay, $19.99. When these things were new, they went for $10. Haven't opened it yet. We're going to do that together. So I have no idea what's in here, but I do know that the cord looks to be original. So we're not going to plug it in because the cord's in bad shape, but let's see if it's been molested. So first thing we got to do is take the knobs off. So we'll do that. The good thing about this radio is it's all intact. It has all the knobs. It has the back cover, which I'll show you in a moment. I'll show you the case. That's coming off good. I'm a little worried about that. It was tight. Okay, good. So to get this thing off, there's 2 screws on the bottom. You'll see that the label is missing here. And I'm working on a new label. That'll be for the next video. Let's get this screw out. I just hope that nobody's been in here, because God knows. So I was talking to Brendan about this. Brendan, when he was a repair tech, used to work on a bunch of these all the time. You know, these things were cheap, right? They were $10 each when you bought them new. And, essentially, to fix it, you wouldn't put a lot of money into it. So generally he'd be replacing grid caps and filter caps. And, probably $450 worth of work for a $10 radio. That's the experience that Brendan shared with me. Let's see, we'll get this back cover off. And you'll see here it says, change tubes, remove these 2 screws, and lift off back. I think it's kind of rare to have this back, so I'm happy about that. There's our chassis. It should just slip out. Let's see what we got. Okay, good. There's our metal cover. Okay, we'll put that aside. I see electrical tape. That can't be good. So let's confirm our tube line up here. There's our 35Z5. There's our 12SA7. This is our 50L6. And this has to be our 12SQ7 right here. But it looks like it's in decent shape. I do see that someone tried to repair the speaker. I see scotch tape on it. We can fix that. That's easy. Let's look underneath. All right, I like what I see. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. Okay. So it looks like we have the original filter cap. And we have our wax caps, which is good. There's a couple of them here that are bulging. And there's not a lot to this radio. I do see a snipped wire here, a green wire. I'm not sure what that's all about. We're going to have to dig into it. But this thing looks to be original. And I think this definitely is the original power cord, which is great. So the story with these radios is a 2-gang tuning condenser. The story with these things is that they don't really pick up very well. So the reception's not really good. I'm not sure what this is all about. This may be original. Looks like it's an antenna lead. Anyway, so the trick on this one is going to be, let's recap it. Let's check the resistors and get all that where it needs to be. There's not much to it. We're going to clean up the chassis best that we can. And then we're going to, see what we can do. So first thing we're going to do is change the caps and test it. And see if we can get it to work. We'll also replace the power cord. So the good news is there's no dial string, Bill. So I'm sure you'd be happy about that. But it does look like it's tight quarters in here and just needs a little bit of a cleanup. We're also going to need to test these tubes. I understand that these 12 SA7 tubes, or the SQ7, I forget which one, typically are bad. I think it's the SQ7, which would be this one here. They typically go bad, so we're going to need to test them before we try anything. But let's take a look underneath, and we'll get it recapped, and then we'll come back. So let me stop the video, and we'll come back when we've got the recap done. Just a little bit of an update here. The filter cap in this thing is an Aerovox Dual Dandy, and it's a PRS type, and 150 volts, and it's a 4020. And just doing a little bit of a lookup on Google, looks like these Dual Dandy caps were made in the 60s. So this is certainly not the original filter cap, which is okay. And I'll have to see if these other ones are true to the period. But this one definitely is not the original filter cap, but that's okay. It's all right. It's still 60 years old, so not a big deal. Anyway, let's continue. I'll start replacing things. I'm going to try to keep this as authentic looking as possible. And I did remove the cellophane tape that was on the speaker, and you can see the speaker's in fairly rough shape, but we can fix that. Okay, we'll be back with an update. All right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the filter caps. So here on the schematic, you'll see right here is C10, and that's a 40 microfarad, 150 volts. And then that's also in the same can with C11, which is 20 microfarads at 150. There's also one more electrolytic, C12, which is right here, which is 20 microfarads at 25 volts. So that's a smaller cap. So what we're going to do, and this is no magic involved here, we're going to take this cap out, right? Because we know it's about 60 years old, and we're going to replace it with a new cap. And essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to use something like this, which is a cardboard tube. It's a coin tube, actually. And I've done this before. This actually works out really well. And what I do is I take the capacitors that we're going to be using, and I stuff them inside here like this. And we're just going to wire it up. And I'm going to attempt to remove this sleeve and wrap it around here. It's a little bit thicker, but we'll be okay. And just remount it back in the radio like this. Of course, before I do that, I've got to get rid of all these waxy caps under here. This is the other electrolytic that we need to remove. So obviously, this is the old one. This is the new one. So it's going to be much smaller. So we'll have a little bit more real estate in here. All same thing is true with these waxy caps. We'll have a lot more real estate once we get rid of these. The new components are much smaller. And you'll see here we've got a little wax bulging out. So we're going to get to it. We're going to start to do the replacement process. And then replace the power cord. And then we'll go from there. I'm probably going to need to replace a bunch of resistors too. There's only a handful in here. Matter of fact, if I look at the schematic, looks like there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 resistors. So it doesn't make sense to leave them in there, just change them. I'm sure they're all going to be out of tolerance anyway. And one of them is the volume control, so it's only 10. All right, so let's get cracking on this stuff, and I'll come back and give you an update. Okay, from an update perspective, we have replaced the filter cap. I ended up putting it in a cardboard tube. I made up a label and printed it on yellow paper and wrapped it around the cap. It says Aerovox Dual Dandy, so it looks right for the period. I've replaced most of the caps. I have 2 more I need to do. This one we're going to talk about is the death cap. This set especially requires a death cap. So I'm going to put a safety cap in here in this one, in this place. In these sets, typically, these things go bad, and you can get a shock pretty badly there. So this is going to be our death cap. There's a resistor tied across it, and then there's one more here that I need to do. And then we're going to take a look at the resistors. This resistor right here looks like it's gotten a little bit hot. Not so bad, but definitely needs to be replaced. So I'm just going to replace all of them anyway. There's not too many of them, so it's something I should be able to do pretty quickly. I've also removed the power cord, and here's the strain relief that they used. It's a piece of cardboard like this, one piece, and it just simply, gets riveted inside here and holds it back. So I'm going to reuse it because I'm going to use a fairly thin power cord. And I have determined that this power cord that was in here is the original. It's an interesting one for sure. I've never seen one quite like this, where the center pops out, and it's attached to the blades. I'm pretty sure it's original. I don't think it's a replacement plug. So we've taken that off. It's all cracked, so I can't reuse it. So our next step, now that we've got at least the minimum in here, we've got our filter caps in there. We've got this other cap that we've installed, which goes to our audio output tube. So our plan is going to be, let's get the power cord connected, and then we're going to plug it in and fire it up and test it. All right? So stand by. We'll get the power cord installed, and we'll be back. Oh, one other thing I want to share with you before I do that. You'll notice right here, there's a terminal strip. Let me see if I can get the focus here. Okay. I had to put a terminal strip here because on one leg of the on-off / volume control, they've got as a terminal point for like multiple connections, and it was just a big blob of solder here, so I decided to reroute everything to this terminal strip and just run a wire to it. So that's why you see this here. All right, let's get the power cord connected, and we'll go from there. Okay, we have everything connected, power cord's connected. Everything's been checked underneath. We're going to power it up for the first time, literally. I really haven't done this off camera. We've got it going through my Variac through a dim bulb tester. We've got it, we've got the knob turned on, and we're going to go real slow here and see if I see any signs of problems here. All the tubes are in. The Variac is hot, and we're going to go up very slowly. Currently at 30 volts. I'll turn that light off. .45 volts. I don't see any amperage draw really, just very little. I have a long wire antenna connected right here. .60 volts. I've got knobs on this thing because I haven't changed the depth cap yet, and I really don't want to get shocked. Let's go up a little more. We're at 60 volts, so far no distress. 85. Should start to see some filament glow. Definitely see some here. I'm starting to hear some noise. That's a good sign. Let's go up to 100 volts. How fitting. I live in Jacksonville and Freebird's on the radio. Let's change that so we don't get a hit. At 100 volts, we don't have a lot of volume though. .118. Okay, I'm going to take it off dim bulb. You got to remember, this is a 1 IF set here, so we're not going to get booming volume. That's a very close station. Okay, that's ESPN.
But in the way it all played out, the one that does seem to have had the hardest break from it is probably Myron Cincinnati, if we're honest.
That speaker needs a little work. I can hear it rattling.
You know, the whole situation. We had... let's say the Bills and the Chiefs, they have to play.
Alright, so we know the radio works. That's good. So the next step is going to be... I'm going to turn power off here. Next step is going to be change all the resistors, change the depth cap, replace all the test the tubes, make sure the tubes are all solid. I've heard that the 12SQ7 normally is something that we have to look at. I told you that earlier. And then we're going to try it again. But we have a baseline now. The baseline is that the radio does play. So I think that's going to do it for this episode. We've proven that the radio works after we've changed everything out. Let me just give you one last sweep at the bottom so you can see what we've done. Okay, let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. Okay, so here's the filter cap that we've replaced. This is the 22 and the 47. That's what we've put there. Over here we have the other 22 at 25 volts. And then we have a number of capacitors replaced. This is the depth cap that I haven't replaced yet. And that's the only last remaining waxy cap. And then I need to go through and replace all the resistors, and I think I told you earlier there's only about 7 or 8 of them together. So, and then we'll clean the volume control, and I think we'll be in good shape. So, radio's playing, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you. Talk to you later.